Hello and welcome. I am Matt Roddy, and this is the Greater Prescott podcast, where we talk about, you guessed it, all things Greater Prescott. Today, I am at the Phippen Museum with the executive director, Ed Kellerman. Ed, thank you very much for your time today.
Well, you're very welcome, Matt. It's great to have you here.
I am excited to learn about the museum. I've lived here 2.5 years now, and I am quickly learning we have a handful of museums with a rich history and something that I would argue not a whole lot of people get to.
Absolutely.
I think everyone's driven by it. We're right here on the 89 in between Pioneer Parkway and
Willow Lake Road, yes.
Well, exactly. And so you've probably driven by this place a million times, but
I'll tell you what, if I had $1 for every person who said they've driven by here and they mean to get into the museum, I'd be wealthy. We'd be doing very well. So It's the hardest thing about the Phippen Museum is to get people in the doors.
Okay.
I think the museum really sells itself. And
yeah, I mean, just take a look at it.
Absolutely. And then you throw in, of course, under COVID restrictions right now, the education part of it is kind of workshops. Those things are canceled for right now. But when we're moving and grooving and doing all the normal activities that the museum has to offer, it's really fascinating. Lots of groups of kids, older folks taking pastel classes, all kinds of great stuff like that. So
great, and we are going to dive into all that. I want you to first begin. And you already told me right before we started, where were you born and raised? What'd you do when you were a kid?
Right.
Start telling the story, and we'll get into all this.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in Prescott, the last of 11 children, the only one born in Prescott.
You're a baby.
That's what they've always called me. Sure. You get to keep that for your whole life.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I'm the baby of the family, but I was the only one born in Prescott. The rest of them were born back east.
Okay.
And so I'm the only one who's got to have an entire lifetime experience here in the Prescott community.
Wow.
And that's why I'm still here. I just love everything about it. Went off for a while to my education, do that kind of thing, but the rest of the time has been right here in good old Prescott.
It's interesting. A lot of people who have been guests have also shared the same thing where or not all of them were born and raised, but actually a couple of them were, and then they left and they kind of realized, oh man, Prescott's such a great place.
Sure.
'Cause in high school, when you're junior high, you kind of think, yeah, heck with this place.
Sure.
But then you get a dose of reality and you realize, it's not too bad.
Absolutely. And I was not that kid. I always loved Prescott. I had a lot of friends who all couldn't wait to get out of school and go off somewhere else. I stayed pretty close to home. I went to Yavapai College and then Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff.
Oh, yeah.
I got my degree in nonprofit public relations, so that's kind of how I ended up in this nonprofit field.
What's the impetus to that? That's a very unique, niche type of a degree, and frankly, just interest.
It is, and actually, it was an extended major they offered when I was going to Northern Arizona University at the time, and what it allowed me was a deeper delving into public relations, but specifically nonprofit public relations. So I did an assistantship at the Museum of Northern Arizona, and so that was my first real experience doing nonprofit PR.
Okay.
And so bookend, here I am at the Phippen Museum. I don't want to say how many years later. I guess it's about 30.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but and again, nonprofit organizations have always been my interest, serving the community.
What was it growing up that kind of you going down that rabbit hole?
You know what? I'm not really sure. I know that there weren't many cultural opportunities here in Prescott when I was a child, but the Charlotte Hall Museum did exist. The Smoke Eye did exist. And my mom saw to it that we visited it often.
Great.
And also the YMCA was a big part of my growing up. The arts and crafts classes, the swimming pool, the swimming lessons, all of that kind of stuff. So everything was kind of focused around that community feel. And so I guess that's kind of why. Again, most of the emphasis was on children too. When I first started working here in Prescott, I worked for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Okay. So I worked with them for quite a few years, and then I moved out to Stepping Stones, the domestic violence shelter.
Absolutely.
I worked out there with them. And then when the recession hit, federal funding was drastically cut for many organizations, and that's when I had to start looking for somewhere else.
Okay.
And I just stumbled into the Phippen Museum, having my experience from the past and being at Museum in Northern Arizona was just a perfect fit. And I've been here about 13 years now, and going on my third year as the executive
Congratulations.
director. So,
Man, it's really interesting how you were able to gather different experiences with different employers and how that sort of culminates to being able to step into a place like this.
Right.
And it be a good fit.
Sure.
Not only you enjoy it, but you're good at it as well.
and again, I'm tried to put a little more emphasis on education for children and art here at the museum. I know that when I was going to school here, art was one of the classes that you could take. It wasn't like an extra course you didn't have to go. Exactly.
You took it.
The arts were very important, and so that has kind of faded away a little bit, and because of the funding, and we want to try to bring that to the community here in Prescott. Some of the things that aren't offered anymore, you can come and find them here at the Phippen Museum.
That's great. Well, just on a side note, I have a 6-year-old daughter. She's just so crafty and artsy, and I told her, Lizzie, I'm going to go to the Phippen Museum. And she says, what's that? And I told her about it. She says, oh, Daddy, take some photos, and I can't wait to go.
Great.
She's the perfect example of why to have those programs. And so now that I know, and I hope as more people know, we will get our kids involved.
Absolutely. And again, it's the COVID strain that's put on us that's canceled all that programming. But before all of that happened, we were having monthly workshops for children to create everything from leather bookmarks to journals to they do core courses for Christmas ornaments, and so just all kinds of projects like that. We've also done some homeschool classes that have come in. We have an excellent education coordinator here named Neil McEwen. He's just an incredibly gifted artist in his own right and a great teacher of not just children but adults as well. So we've had a really great time with that. One of the great things he's been really instrumental in developing is a program we call Clay Out West. It's our Clay Out West Sculpture Jamboree is what we call it. And we were getting on a roll with it, and then of course COVID did that to us as well. But it's a program where we separate the kids into 3 age groups, and they're able to create a piece of clay sculpture 5 by 5 inches. And then we have professional artists come and judge the artwork, sculptors, and we pick one winner from each age group. And then those are all produced as actual bronzes, and then we display them here in the museum. So it's been a really, really great program.
What a great idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been really great. We've been got some really generous support from the Arizona Community Foundation to help support that program. And so that's been instrumental in helping us continue to do that. We look forward to getting back and do that this year. I'm not positive it'll happen October just because of restrictions, but we're keeping our eyes open, and it will return eventually.
Yeah, and that's what we always share with people. It will return, you guys. Just keep posted, stay tuned.
Right.
Okay, let's back up. So you were born and raised here. What brought your family out here?
My father was offered work. He was a carpenter. He was offered to work by a friend, Marvin Kanalikin, I think his name was. But my dad came back here from Illinois to work for this job during the summer, I think. And basically he fell in love with Prescott. Being from, Hardin, Illinois, it's where the Illinois and Mississippi rivers come together. So the humidity level's probably almost 100% all the time.
All the time.
Mosquitoes and everything that comes with it. So when my father came out here and saw the sunshine, how warm it was, that convinced him. So it wasn't long before he loaded up the station wagon with all the kids.
And here you are.
And here we were,
Here you are. How big, do you have any idea what the population was of kind of the greater Prescott area?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking probably 12, 16,000, something like that. I'm not totally positive with that number, but
it's close.
Very small.
It's very small.
Dirt roads, the rain would be in the ditches on the side of the street instead of in controlled water resource. But so, it was a much different time then. So,
what did you do growing up here?
What did I do growing up? Again, from a big family, so a lot of things was centered around family. But I went to all the regular school around here, Dexter Elementary School, and then Granite Mountain Junior High, Prescott High School, Yavapai College. I followed right down the line, and then finally finished up getting my degree at Northern Arizona University.
Okay, so you've walked us through, you work or you go to school at NAU. you also work at the museum up there.
Right.
How many years or how much time was that?
It was a couple years. It was a paid assistantship.
Okay.
What convinced me to go to school was my first real serious job outside of Prescott was working for the Prescott Forest Service. So I lived in Crown King for a couple of years back in the 80s. And
I thought
worked
it
on a
was
fire.
primitive up there about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Much less.
Oh yeah. No, very primitive for sure. A very special place to be, but very isolated as well. And for an 18, 19-year-old kid, it was pretty tough. Yeah. So, along with the physical nature of it, incredibly strenuous work convinced me that maybe I could find another way to make a living besides being out in the elements.
Absolutely.
So that definitely pushed me towards going back to school and looking at Northern Arizona University. Okay. So. All
right.
Yeah.
You were a big brother, big sister before Stepping Stones?
Yes.
What was your role there?
That was just where I walked in the door looking for. I had stayed home with my daughter, raising her. I kind of missed her mom. So the first 5 years of her life, my wife worked at Yavapai Regional Medical Center. Okay. I stayed home with our daughter.
Gotcha.
Once she started kindergarten, that's when I started looking at getting back into the work field. But it also kind of hamstrung me because I hadn't had the experience for the past 5 years. Naturally. And a little time away from work. And so I had to start basically at the bottom. So I believe I started at Big Brothers Big Sisters, just the reception, just answering phone. Yeah. Worked my way up to doing community outreach and working with the bigs. Yep. And so after that, then again, moved out to Stepping Stones and did the same kind of work out there, community outreach. Okay. So, yeah.
Man, so you've just been in it.
Yeah. Local nonprofits has been my focus for more than 20 years. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so then you said the recession came around. You just started looking for something. What did you land on at the Phippen Museum as far as?
It was the same exact thing. I had to start at the bottom here. Okay. Administrative assistant, answering phones, doing whatever. There was four staff members, maybe total. 3.5 maybe. Yeah. So it was very small staff there at the time. But again, same kind of deal. Just had to start. Which again, when you're going to do something like this, starting at the bottom, you learn everything inside and out. So by the time you work your way into some sort of executive or administrative position, you really have a pretty good idea.
Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if this is true. However, if you purchase a McDonald's franchise, you not only have to go to McDonald's University, but you also have to work in the back to learn the ropes.
Absolutely.
I think this actually kind of gets lost in our maybe our culture these days, that it really helps to start from the very bottom. Right. Not only is it humbling, but man, you just start to learn all the nuances that you just you would never know existed if you just stepped into an executive position off the bat. And it's important to get experience.
Well, and exactly, and that's the balance between, like you say, an education and experience. An education's a great thing to have.
It is.
And it gets you in the door, but experience is what really keeps you there.
So both of those together,
absolutely,
they are good.
Yep. So again, it was tough starting at the bottom each time, but again, knowing the ins and outs of membership and everything else that goes with it, fundraising is not a bad thing.
I could not agree more.
There you go.
So 3 or so years ago, you became the executive director?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right.
Yeah. Yep. The beginning of 2019, I'm going on my third year. So.
Yes. Okay. How's it going?
It's gotten better in some ways. COVID has certainly thrown a wrench in a lot of plans, but I think I hit the ground running, and we were seeing some consistent. We were seeing some outstanding numbers for our opening receptions, our Thursday dinner program. So we were really on a roll. We were still seeing record numbers before COVID hit. So all in all. With the great volunteers, staff, and supporters that the Phippen Museum has, we'll weather this storm.
I could not agree more.
So,
yeah. Try to do this in under 60 seconds so I can get this clip. What is the Phippen Museum for everyone who's listening?
The Phippen Museum is basically a labor of love that was started by George Phippen's friends, family, and fellow artists who were so inspired by his keen sense of humor, his outstanding artistic talent, his love of nature and horses, that they wanted to create an institution dedicated to the preservation and presentation of great art of the American West. Okay. And so that's where the museum comes about.
Yeah, I read through the website yesterday just to make sure I knew something. And yes, the kind of the short bio of George on the website is...
George Phippen was an incredible character that was only able to live 50 years, but in that short time span, he created over 3,000 pieces of incredible Western art.
Wow.
And again, he was just an inspiration to all the folks around him. So that's really why the museum exists, is because of who George Phippen was.
Yeah, out of his legacy, so to speak. Interesting. How did the museum start? I mean, it was his friends and family, but why Prescott? Was this the location?
Sure. Yeah, he was a local artist. He was
he was
local painter and sculptor of themes of the American West. He was also the first president of the Cowboy Artists of America.
Okay.
So he was only that for about a year before he passed away. But the gentlemen that were putting that organization together with him, Joe Beeler, Johnny Hampton, Charlie Dye, were the founding fathers, and they wanted him to be their president. So that's how he, at the time, he was probably the most well-known of all those artists, made his living, any way he could, but a big part of it was Brown and Bigelow calendars that he created, Western themes for that. They also contracted with Norman Rockwell, and at one point in the 50s, George Phippen's Western artwork outsold Norman Rockwell's. So there was a period when Western genre was so hot, and George was right in the middle of it. He was right in the middle of it. Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Yep.
He was a Prescott guy.
He was a Prescott guy. Absolutely.
One of the things that fascinates me, again, I've only been here 2.5 years. I was born and raised in Tucson. Then for college moved to Phoenix, and then I keep moving north, but I'm not going any farther. So I love it here. What a unique collection of people who, whether you're born and raised here or somehow you end up here, of the people here. It's fascinating.
Right. Yeah. And again, there's those folks that have been here a long time, but even more so the people who have discovered Prescott on their own and decided this is the place they want to spend their lives. Not just the retirement community, but other folks that have just, again, the climate, it has so much to offer.
It does.
And it's hard to keep a secret like that. So
I know everyone is, and I'm not sure, I don't need your opinion necessarily, but a lot of people will say, I don't want Prescott to get any bigger. It's already so big. And I'm going, but it's so amazing.
Exactly. Well, but again, being someone who was born and raised here too, there's a lot of things that are definitely better than they were back then. I'm not so sure I'd want to go back to the days where it was dirt roads.
This is a good point.
Absolutely. Healthcare. There were a lot of different reasons why you wouldn't want to go back to that time. So
that makes sense.
Progress is inevitable. It's just how you do it. So,
and that's why, on the note of how COVID is in a sense been a speed bump for you guys, I have complete faith that you and many other organizations, once things kind of correct themselves, that you'll just naturally get back into that flow that you were in earlier.
Right. And that's it. Right now, what makes it the hardest is, like I said, first of all, is having such an incredible collection of artwork and no one to see it.
Yes, it is empty, you guys.
Exactly, but just not being normal, just wanting to do what we do best. And like I said, we were on a roll and things were clicking for us, and then everything stopped. So that in itself has been, joggling to us. We just knocked us off our center. And so we've had to pivot to a more online presence. We've been creating art demonstrations online, virtual tours. Last year's Memorial Day art show and sale was canceled, but we had over 400 pieces of artwork available for sale online. Which was a pretty incredible feat. Just a shout out to our curator, Jeanette Holverson, who made that happen. It was a short notice because we were planning on having our show up until about a month and a half before. And so she scrambled to get all of that together. So again, small staff, but they are very powerful.
How many staff members are there, and what are the roles?
There's six of us total here, 2 part-time and 4 full. There's me, the museum operations manager, the curator, an education coordinator, the bookkeeper, and then I have a museum store manager who keeps an incredible collection of Western genre items in our store. So,
man, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, they're powerful. They're very powerful. Again,
Yes.
the museum store manager was in the same position, had to rotate to an online store, which we had not had.
Yeah.
So now you can shop Phippen.org. If you're looking for something great, go to shopphippen.org and you can look for items there and help support the museum that way. You can also make donations through that site, and also museum memberships are able to be purchased as well. So.
Yeah. And what is the website, which I'll put in all this information?
It's www.phippenartmuseum.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the merchandise is
shopphippen.org.
very simple.
Pretty simple, yeah.
And I'll put up all that.
Okay.
That information.
That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
You bet.
The whole goal is that people get a sense of what goes on here.
Sure.
To, at the very least, give them that nudge, that they need. And frankly, it's for me too.
All right.
I have not officially been through the museum.
Well,
I know I've been here, but I don't even remember enough to know. So it's kind of one of those things for myself as well.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to be able to get out and promote the museum any way we can.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's talk about the museum. What can people expect when they come? Are there different rooms that have different themes? Because what people can't see behind us is, it's an old stagecoach.
Sure.
What year was that thing built?
It's got it on the side there. It was purchased from the Sam Hill Hardware Store on Whiskey Row.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not, again, I can't tell you for sure the date. But
it's old.
It's very old. And along with a lot of the other items here. This is the Bill and Marion Gary Western Heritage Gallery.
Okay.
It includes a lot of local rodeo history. Yep. It includes the Arizona Rancher and Cowboy Hall of Fame that we trademarked. It's here at the Phippen Museum. Each year we'll add a new inductee at our fall gathering in the fall. And so, but just a lot of great memorabilia, stuff about George Ruffner, J.C. Trujillo, the great rodeo bronc rider here in Prescott. And that's just kind of the memorabilia side of it. And of course, our big expansive gallery. This is right here we have the Marley Gallery, the Kemper and Ethel Marley Western Gallery. We have a lot of our main exhibits here in this gallery. We also have another section on the other half of the museum over this way. It's the Harold and Mitzi James Gallery, and that's where most of George Phippen artwork is. Some of the memorabilia. His studio replica is in there. We also have the Solon Borglum collection on that half, and another gallery space, and the Ray Swanson collection is over there as well. So we've also added another little space over in the back in the corner, which is playing a new video called Mecca of Western Art, which focuses on art specifically here in Prescott, Arizona. So
neat.
That's a new video that was put together that you can also purchase that at the Phippen Museum store. So
I'll put that up. Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us about a couple of the pieces of art. I know that the people can see this one at least partially, as well as this far piece, but just kind of talk about some of the pieces that we can see. And
these two pieces that you can see, the busts behind us are by John Coleman. He's a cowboy artist as well, a local artist. And
which pieces?
The bust here and this one right behind us. So, and he's just an outstanding local artist as well. And that's the whole focus of this show is High Desert Masters is what it's called, and it's focused primarily on Arizona's Central Highlands and the artists in that area that create it. So there's Bill Nebeker pieces. I've got pieces of Don Ranch and Bill Kramer, Russell Johnson, just a wonderful collection. Joseph Robertson, Kathy Quick Anderson. Again, there's a whole, in the corner over here, you can see the list of biographies of all the artists that are in the show. Wow. So you see how many artists are actually participating in this show. Then we have a lower level gallery downstairs.
It's almost 30 artists.
Yes, that's exactly right. Downstairs we have the Kiwanis Classroom. That's the Kiwanis Club helped sponsor that.
Excellent.
We use for educational purposes. Another open space that's used for rentals with a small catering kitchen. And then we have a museum library with lots of different art and Western resources in there that we also use as our board meeting room. So, yeah.
I'm somewhat naive, so walk me through it. Are any of these pieces for sale, or are they all just on, or does the Phippen Museum own them? Or are they owned by a family who simply allows you guys to show them?
Right. All of the above, everything in between. Our shows are created a lot of different ways. Some of them are entirely made up of visiting pieces that are here just for a while and then go out. Some shows are entirely able to be purchased. The artwork that's in them is able to be purchased. Our our Hold Your Horses, annual Hold Your Horses show and sale, which is focused entirely on the horse. It starts in August. Those pieces are all for sale. So it just depends. I believe there's a smattering of paintings in here or sculpture that are for sale, but it would indicate it directly on their titles, so you would know that
so it's
way.
Completely mixed. That's neat.
Right.
And obviously, the people can. This is the Bill Nedeker.
Bill Nedeker piece,
which I know he's a real popular
or a
local. He's got tons of art. Actually, right outside the roundabout, is that his?
This is George Phippen's piece out here. Cowboy in a Storm is that was the first piece to go in, and then they just installed one of. And for some reason it's escaping me the name of George's bronze. Bill's bronze. But Bill Nedeker just had his bronze installed at the roundabout past us out here.
That's right. Okay.
So that's his piece there.
That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah. He's a great supporter of the Phippen Museum, and obviously an incredibly talented artist as well.
Incredible artist.
Absolutely.
And based on some information on your website over at Bronzesmith. Actually, Ed Riley. That's right. Ed Riley is one of the owners. We're just kind of going back and forth on. I cannot wait to learn more about that process.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's a wonderful. If you ever have any interest in learning about the incredible process of creating a bronze, you should go out there. They have tours. You can watch them pour.
Yes.
Again, like you're saying, he's right in the middle of finishing a piece with Ed Riley out at Bronzesmith called Lest We Forget. It's the memorial to fallen officers here in Yavapai County, and they'll end up placing that on the courthouse plaza downtown.
Really?
Yeah, so
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
The plaza has ended up being a really great venue for, obviously, Solon Borglum's incredible Rough Rider statue of Bucky O'Neill. And he's got another piece, Cowboy at Rest, on the other side. We have the Veterans Memorial statue. And so they've got plans for a couple other pieces, including Lest We Forget by Bill Nedeker. So
I'm glad for my own knowledge you tied that all in. I didn't kind of realize that the downtown... I feel like I've walked it so many times since I've been here that I kind of lose focus. I'm watching my kids run around, but all the stories of the statues downtown. Oh my gosh.
And that's another great feature of the Phippen Museum is that we have the Solon Borglum collection here. Solon Borglum was Gutzon Borglum, who created Mount Rushmore, his quieter brother.
Oh.
Some may argue a little more talented, but he was very well received.
They were both pretty talented.
Absolutely. Solon was very well received in Europe. He was called the Rembrandt of the Prairie. And so we have, I think, what's considered the largest collection of his artwork anywhere in the nation.
Really?
Along with some pieces out of his studio that were bought back east and brought here. So that's how he ties in. He created the Rough Rider statue downtown. He actually came to Prescott, chose the boulder that he wanted his statue to sit on. His daughter eventually came out here, visited us after the museum was established. So there was a connection with the Borglum family. And so his artwork lives here through the Prescott Area Art Trust. So, yeah.
What type of art does he have?
He's a sculptor. Primarily, yeah, that was his forte. So,
all right.
And I originally, Gutzon Borglum was a painter, I believe, and then kind of saw what his younger brother was doing and kind of moved over towards sculpture, and that's obviously he ended up being phenomenal artist.
Fascinating.
So, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I think it's so rich that some of his original work is here.
Yes. There's even a plaster cast of his daughter Monica Solon created, and that's inside the gallery too as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
This is a beautiful building.
Right.
Well, again, one that you drive by a million times, and until you either really look at it or get inside going, this is a really pretty building.
Right.
When was it built?
Well, the first part of the building was built in 1984. And you had been asking about kind of how the Phippen Museum came about. Well,
Yeah.
it became about through the Memorial Day show and sale in the courthouse. So after George Phippen passed away, like I said, his friends and family wanted to create an institution that was dedicated to art of the American West. And the way to do that was to raise money through an annual event on the square. So they would invite artists from all over the country and use the money raised from that event to create the museum. It took about 10 years to raise the funding that they needed. But the doors eventually opened in October of 1984.
Okay.
This edition didn't take effect until, I guess they finished this about 2011 or 12.
Okay.
So it hasn't been that long, about 9 or 10 years.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But yeah, this is when this half of the museum is when the Phippen kind of feels like it really graduated to a national treasure, a real with hickory floors, vaulted ceilings.
The floors are gorgeous.
An elevator for those with special needs, and all the things that come with it. So a really nice museum store. Areas dedicated to the history and heritage of the local area. So again, the Phippen has always survived on the kindness of the local community. It really has. So it continues to do so as well.
Right. And I imagine it will continue.
Yeah.
One of the things that you have alluded to that I want to say is this idea that with all that you have with all that Phippen has been given, you guys are trying to be a really good steward.
Absolutely.
You know, you're talking about educational classes, things for kids, and just really putting a lot into it. Good. I mean, just like congratulations.
Yeah.
You're just an insider. You're on the grind. We've talked before this. Like, you're a busy man.
Yeah.
So it's maybe hard for you to kind of realize, although COVID has definitely put a speed bump in it, just keep going, just like you guys are doing.
Well, and in the next week or so, on a normal year, we would be holding our annual meeting of the membership, where we kind of take a moment to look back at the year that came before and focus on all the things that we did do instead of just the little hitches and obstacles that come along our way. It really does a great job of reminding not just the membership, but also the trustees and the staff what we've done in the past year. Sometimes it's just one thing to the next, and you finally never have a real minute to steep in the enjoyment of the thing that you did.
Get some perspective.
So we will miss that this year, but again, we try to always around here remember that what we have done, and not just what's the obstacles that are facing us. So.
Yeah. Okay. Look at the camera and tell people why they need to come in here.
Why they need to come. And I would suggest that not even if I have folks that aren't local Prescottonians, but have fallen in love with Prescott and specifically Western art and the Phippen Museum. So we have members that are across the nation. But the reason that you should support the Phippen Museum is because of our continued effort to preserve and promote and present the great art of the American West that is steeped in a tradition of Charlie Russell and Remington and George Phippen, but also seeks to look at who the new up-and-coming Western artists are today, where that's going, and also kind of supplement our local education system as far as arts are concerned. There really is a very special need for that right now, especially even during COVID when kids seem a little more isolated.
Absolutely.
So that's another great reason. But again, it's just a great reminder of the history and heritage, not only of Western art, but of our local ranching and rodeo history. So
it's fascinating. I get to learn so much by sitting across from people like you. We have such a unique area with so many things going on.
Sure.
And it's fun to see a lot of that kind of culminate in a museum like this. A lot of different people, even in different types of works, and then they come together. And
well, Prescott is steeped in history and heritage of the West. I mean, just from where we're standing right here, Tom Mix was filming his silent westerns in the Granite Dells. The Deepwell Ranch, Harold James Deepwell Ranch, that's where we're located. He and Louise Phippen actually walked the property to find the perfect place to put the Phippen Museum. And if you look out our windows, you can see why they chose this spot. So
the Dells are right there for
exactly.
I've been looking at them the whole time. It's gorgeous.
So it is a really special place.
Yeah.
And again, it has a really special history, and that I'm proud to be a part of that too, is preserving that history.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. I'm excited to put my roots down here. And my wife and I have 4 young kids that we would love to bring over to these art things and get them involved in what a museum is.
Sure.
I kind of think that has lost. I'm just thinking from my own perspective, that's kind of been lost.
Sure.
The
I think also too, there's kind of a there's some folks that are immediately react and say, I'm not interested in Western art. I don't cowboys on horses.
I would actually argue I am one of those at first.
Right. But then obviously when you come through and you see the incredible landscapes, the sculptures, the different kinds of artwork that are created, not just by the cowboy artists, but also great Native American artists as well. Again, it's just all about coming in the door. I can try to explain what the Phippen is, but once you come inside, walk the galleries and look at the different displays and artwork, you find out for yourself why the Phippen is worth supporting. And so again, that's why I would sell that to you as well. Come in our doors, and if you can leave and don't think that this place is worthy, then there's nothing else I could tell you about the Phippen Museum.
Yeah, thank you for trying.
Exactly.
But, to get people in here.
Exactly.
It's an experience.
Exactly. Again, and I try to give out free admission to, free passes, and try to get people in the door. Again, just for that reason, is just if I can get you in the door to see it once, I don't have to explain why it's important to support what we do here.
Well said.
And that's also, again, about getting the kids in here when they're young to have their experience at the Phippen Museum. I meet, I say kids, probably in their 20s or so now, that when they see them from the Phippen, we went there when I was in school, and they remember specifically that day that they came to the Phippen Museum.
These things are special.
Absolutely. And so if I'd like to be able to see every kid in the Prescott Unified School District, or actually
in the area,
Humboldt Unified School District, Chino Unified School District, at least one experience to tour through the museum with their class and see what the museum has to offer. So.
Do you guys have that as a desire?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we've tried to push that with the local school system, and I don't know the kinds of requirements they have now. It seems like field trips and tours are not quite as high on the priority list as they used to be, and that probably goes along with, again, the different programming they have in terms of arts and music and those kinds of activities.
Seems logical.
So again, it's a really important aspect of exposing children to the arts in a way that they can feel it and see it for themselves, and it really makes a difference.
That experience is so important.
It is. It really is.
And as I sit, I'm no different, but as I sit across from people like you, we've all had an experience or two that it just touched us so much that either that's what we're not doing for a career, or that's just simply a hobby that we do, and so oftentimes it just takes that one time.
Absolutely. I remember again, I talked about the YMCA, being a small child and taking the summer art camp or whatever they were doing at the time, decoupage or piñatas or whatever they were working on at the time, but hands-on, and gives a kid a chance to get his fingers in the color and the ink and all that stuff and create something for themselves. So.
And we have a lot of kids around here. I know we have plenty of retired people also. Right. But there's a lot of kids.
There is. Again, we're trying to do that as well. We have art and wine class that we were offering for a while there.
That's a great idea.
And couples would come and enjoy learning how to paint. And so there's no specific age group for art. It's universal. So.
That's, I think, one reason I love art so much.
Right.
And it's only been I'm 38, in the last 10 years that I've really started to appreciate art more. And the fun part is you can enjoy it like my 6-year-old daughter or when you're 86.
Absolutely.
It's just and there's so many different types.
Absolutely. The variety as well. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. 2 more sections before we wrap up.
Sure.
You have alluded to this a little bit. What keeps you in the greater Prescott area?
Oh, well, aside from being born and raised here and just experiencing everything great that Prescott has to offer, I think that's probably just about enough. I have quite a few family members still here, so that keeps me close to home. And again, just a love for the area itself and everything it has to offer. So
it's got so much to offer.
It does.
What do you do when you're not working?
I'm a gardener. I like to garden. I was a hiker. Again, some of the things that I used to do, now that I'm as busy as I am, have kind of been put on the back burner. But photography, just gathering with friends and locals and spending time together is one of the greatest weekends you can have. So,
amen.
There you go. And especially now, right? Because it's been, a year since everybody's been able to get together. So
it's been.
It seems like 10 years,
actually.
It
seems like a lot longer.
It does.
As you say, a year.
It does. Yeah, it is actually hard to believe what we were doing a year ago and how much things have changed.
How different it is.
It is.
Yep. All right. Couple fun questions.
Okay.
You already know the answer. Just answer with the first things that come to mind.
Sure.
Question number 1, what's your favorite thing about Greater Prescott?
My favorite thing about Greater Prescott is... Oh, wow. That's
you can name a couple.
The people. Yeah. The people are probably the thing that's kept me here. Yeah. Absolutely.
People and community and friendly. That's
sure.
about the number one
people,
answer.
Friends, and family. Yeah.
Well said. What's your favorite restaurant in Greater Prescott?
Oh, now you're going to get me in trouble.
I said you could say more than one.
Oh, wow. I'll say El Gato Azul first because not only the great food, but what a great Barry Barbie, such a great community support. Has done a great job in helping a lot of different organizations, including the Phippen Museum. Big Daddy E's Barbecue in Chino Valley. Again, he's another one that's helped out the Phippen Museum in many different ways. So not just great food, because he's kind of our go-to. He's go-to when we want to do barbecue. He's the guy we contact. So, what I'll tell you is what I miss about Prescott, restaurants that don't exist anymore that I wish could come back, would be the Hofbrauhaus, which is an old kind of German buffet style. You went down the tray line and they picked out your sides and all that great stuff. And then folks that have been around here for a while will remember El Chaparral, the go-to Mexican restaurant for years and years. So that's where, when friends and family came from back east, that's where we headed.
That's where you went?
Absolutely.
El Gato Azul is the number one answer.
There you go.
And Barry's a great guy.
Yes.
What's the number one thing on your Greater Prescott bucket list?
Greater Prescott bucket list. Wow. That's a tough one. I've done quite a lot of things.
Of all people, you've probably done a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about what goes on around here that I have not yet participated in or tried. Gosh, I couldn't tell you that one. I don't know that one. My bucket list in general is to someday spend a week or two at the Smithsonian Institute.
You need more time than that.
Exactly.
You of all people.
Exactly. Well,
my wife and I could spend.
You need
an apartment.
My father and I talked about wanting to see Smithsonian before he passed, so he never got to see it, and I have yet to be there. But that is one of the things that I that I want to see.
They're special.
So, yeah.
What's your favorite all-time piece of Western art?
Well, that would be easy. That's Tying Knots in the Devil's Tail by George Phippen. It's an iconic piece and just an outstanding... It epitomizes what George Phippen did. Was he put action in his artwork. It told a story, and it had a sense of humor.
Is that on display?
It is in the gallery.
I want to look at it before I leave.
It's excellent.
Next question. What are 3 words to describe living in Greater Prescott?
Oh. Diverse. Magical. I think that's maybe a little too big a word for that, but along that kind of line, and then hometown.
It is very homey.
Yeah. The downtown area is the Mayberry of the West, as far as I'm concerned. There's not many places where you walk around the sidewalk with the historic buildings around, the antique shops, the restaurants, and look at the beautiful. I mean, it's one of the top 10 gathering places in the United States, next to Central Park. So, yeah, it's a really very special place.
I could not agree more.
There you go.
If you weren't the executive director of the Phippen Museum, what type of work would you be doing?
If I wasn't doing that, I would probably be working somewhere with children.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what that would be, but yeah.
I mean, big brother, big sister, stepping stones.
Again, coming
right
from a
down
large
your alley.
family, there was always kids of every age around. Always.
Yes.
Always.
And last question, what's your favorite summer activity in Greater Prescott?
My favorite summer activity in Greater Prescott. Oh, wow. Summer activities, just I'm a big one for traditions in downtown Prescott. So I'm always at the Christmas parade, and so probably the Frontier Days celebration downtown is probably the spot to be for the summer.
It is an excellent couple days of,
Absolutely.
or I guess a week in a sense. Yeah,
Of everything Prescott.
it is.
Yeah, absolutely. The boot race, the rodeo, the street dance, all of it. Absolutely.
Man, it's you speak to so many things that make our area so special, and it's what resonates with so many of us.
Right.
I love it.
Again, that's why I haven't ended up being anywhere else. I've seen other places and maybe not have been everywhere in America, but from what I've seen, I still find Prescott to be the place that I want to be. So
Well said.
there you go.
Is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap it up?
I just hope people keep in mind that what the Phippen Museum does do here. We're kind of separated from the downtown area. We're kind of isolated out here. We're a single point of interest. If you're not usually doing something else and then let's hop over here and see the Phippen. Aside from maybe doing the Constellation Trail across the street, but really it's a really wonderful place full of great, not just the artists but the staff, the volunteers, and the patrons, the folks who support us. I've never worked with such a dedicated, loyal and enthusiastic group of people. They're just they're here for the right reasons, all of them, and they give 110%, which is just more than I could ever ask for.
That's what a place like this takes.
Right.
You cannot have something world class like this without
Sure.
you and your amazing staff.
And again, just such a small staff and yet still so powerful. No one, everyone wears multiple hats. Everyone steps into different areas to help. Everyone comes up with ideas. The bookkeeper sometimes has some wonderful marketing ideas. So it's just keeping that all open and everybody focused on the same thing. It's been a wonderful experience for me. It was very, I was a little anxious about it at first, taking over this position.
There's a lot of reason to.
But again, it didn't take very long before the folks around me, just their incredible support and the community's response for the Phippen Museum makes it easier.
Man, I don't know how many opportunities you have to share something like that, but good job to you, to all the staff members, and to what you guys, including all your donors, and everyone who's involved.
Right.
It takes a lot of people.
It does.
And it sounds like you guys are in, aside from COVID, a very, very healthy, good place.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Again, we could just get through the other side of this COVID issue, and we'll be doing fine.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to put up all the information, so you don't need to say it, but I'll have it in the description of the audio and the video.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you coming out and visiting the museum again. Give us just another opportunity to share with folks what we do here at the Phippen Museum.
That's the whole
why
goal.
it's important.
I hope that you guys heard something, or frankly just saw something where you went, you know what? I'm just going to go check it out. I just need to go.
Right.
And
on that note, let me just let you know we're closed temporarily. Again, like I said, we will be opening up on February 17th again.
Okay.
We're going to have limited hours, Wednesdays through Saturdays. We're going to allow folks that are high risk to come in first thing in the morning from 10 to 11. The rest of the day, other folks, no more than 8 in a group and no more than 24 in the museum at one time. but we request that you make reservations and call us first so that we can make sure that we have our schedule set up in the right amount of people.
Very reasonable.
But we'll get back to what we do here very shortly.
So check the website
Absolutely.
and make a phone call if you guys have any
Absolutely.
questions.
That would be the best thing, is probably just because of the uncertain nature of everything that's going on right now. If you're coming from somewhere a little bit farther away, make sure you give us a call, and then go ahead and call us and request a reservation. We'll pick a time, and you and your guests can come and see the Phippen Museum. So.
Well said. That is a great place to end.
All right.
Let's look at the camera with a nice big smile. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely,
I really
Matt.
appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening and watching, and have a great day.
Thank you.